Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome back to another Motion.io product update live stream. My name is Sam Chlebowski, and I am one of three co-founders here at Motion.io, and really excited to have you tuning in to this live stream. We're doing these now every single Friday at this exact same time, so that's 10:30 Mountain Time, 9:30 Pacific, 12:30 Eastern Time, and yeah, really happy to have everybody tuning in with us today. I'll give folks a couple minutes to file in. If anybody is, tuning in a little bit late, don't want to start without them if they're just going to be a couple minutes. So in the meantime, I'll talk to you about, kind of what I'm up to. So it's been a really big month for us here at Motion.io. And what was really especially cool about this month and the various features we've released is that so many of the things that we've done, so many of the things that we've been working on are two amazing developers, my CTO, Zach, as well as my colleague, Josh, have really just put their heart and souls into this product over the last month, improving a lot of Motion.io's existing functionality. And what we really try to do is take things from where they were, existing pieces of functionality we knew, yeah, they worked pretty well. People were using them all of the time, but they could have been a little bit better. So the way that we go about our development cycles, sometimes we are launching new features, things that we've thought of, things that people have suggested that can be really good improvements to the platform. But then other weeks, a lot of times we are just working on improving what we have. And these past couple of weeks have just brought so many amazing new changes to Motion.io and so many great new pieces of functionality. So I'm going to talk about all of that today and excited to really, dive in and share things with you. That said, as I go through the content of this live stream, please do not hesitate. Ask any other questions you might have about Motion.io. If you write in on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, wherever you're joining us from, I will see those messages. So yeah, don't be shy. Write in. Let me know what questions that you have. I'll post something in here to get started. I'll just write, hey, everyone. And yeah, comment in with any questions you have, and I'll be answering them live. As for me, I'm having a beautiful start to my Friday. This past week in Denver, it was so wild. It was like we were living in Seattle or something. Typically, 300 days of sunshine a year. That's what everybody says about Colorado. It's been raining basically all week. Today it's nice and sunny. It's going to be like 80 or 90 degrees outside. So this weekend, probably going to get some pool time in. Have a young son who loves the swims, and all of the pools in the area just opened. So we're going to go ahead and do that. But if you want to write in with a comment of, hey, what are your fun plans? What are you up to this weekend? Hopefully you're not working too much. I know that, most of the people that use us are small business owners. And, that sometimes happens, but hopefully you have some fun things that you're up to, and I'd love to have you share. So with that, let's go ahead and let's get into some of the features that we've released here over the last month. And the way that I like to do this, just to kind of kick things off, is I like to look at our Motion.io change log. So I'll go ahead and share that now. So if you haven't seen this page before, definitely recommend going to check it out, especially every Thursday morning. On our changelogs page on our website, you see it says right at the top there, we ship almost every Wednesday. So this week was one of those almost weeks because we didn't ship an update this week with the short week, but we will be back right on schedule with some really cool new stuff. And I'm going to let you know a little bit about what we are working on right now towards the end of this webinar, because there's a especially cool feature in there. To give you just a little teaser of that, it's something to do with our files system that we have in the platform, where every project you create has this sort of files library that you can easily manage. So we're making some big improvements to those. I'll go into details later. But first, let's just take a look back here and skim through some of the things that we've shipped over the last month before I actually get into showing you how these work, how you can use them. So scrolling back down to the beginning of the month, we launched some really cool improvements to Motion.io's project management features. So the first is a new view, which is called My Tasks, which is just called Tasks. It used to be called My Tasks. We renamed it to just Tasks, and it now allows you to view all tasks across all projects, in addition to being able to just filter by the things that have been assigned to you. We've also really streamlined the process for assigning tasks in Motion.io so that when you add a user to a project for the first time, you will automatically be prompted to assign them to all client-facing tasks. Really makes launching projects, kicking things off super easy, helps streamline things a bit more. So after the streamlined task assigning, we've also made some adjustments to the task visibility in Motion.io. Long story short, what that is this allows you to really easily see within your individual projects, hey, what's visible to a client, what's only visible to my team, and what are the draft tasks that I haven't sent yet, but that I want to make visible to clients. After that, the following week, or I guess this was 2 weeks later, we released some really heavily requested stuff. The first one is new roles and permissions. Long story short is basically this gives you more control over your individual team members and what they can access or what they can't in Motion.io. This is really useful, especially if you're working with independent contractors who you want them to kind of have a more limited view of the project, be able to get updates, be able to see what's going on, but not be able to change things directly. We also have the ability now to customize portal header images. This is an update that is kind of a follow-on to a complete overhaul to client portals that we made in April. And I'm going to show you this actually first when I get into showing you around my account. We also have this new tag in Zapier called Tag Added. I'll show you some ways to use that later in the webinar or later in the live stream. And then finally, last week, this really featured out of any week in this sort of update cycle in this month. What we released last week was definitely by far our most heavily requested functionality. So you now have the ability to populate custom fields multiple times in the same contract. If you don't know what that means, I'll tell you in a little bit. But this is, if you are using Motion.io's contract functionality, a huge improvement, really simplifies things in terms of populating things in contracts, information that you already have, so clients, team members don't have to fill that out manually. We also added support for weekly recurring tasks. I'll show you how to use those again in a little bit. But the long story short there is that in addition to being able to set up tasks that recur once a month, you can now have tasks recur once a week on the day you choose. Especially useful for things like spreadsheets somebody needs to update, maybe a weekly form someone needs to fill out. Talk about some ways to use that. We've also added the ability to add custom names for automations, and this goes hand in hand with a completely redesigned and improved automations experience. With the improvements that we've made here, it really gives you a lot more clarity, a lot easier visibility into the specific automations that you have set up in projects, when they are running, and what they do. This update was a long time coming. It took us a little while to figure out how exactly to get it right, so it was as clear as possible, but I think we've settled on something really great. I have personally been using our automations a lot in the past 2 weeks for my own internal work here at Motion.io, and I even leaned over to my co-founder, Zach, who primarily worked on some of these automations improvements, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so much better. So I'll show you how that works here in a little bit. With that, I'm going to go ahead and pivot back into my Motion.io account, and we will talk about the first feature we've added in the past month, which is enhanced client portal customization. So these are those custom header images that you can add to your Motion.io client portals. So let me hop back in here to my own Motion.io account. I'll show you how this works. So in your account, when you go to your account's settings page, which you can access in the bottom of your account sidebar, in this settings page, I actually just put out a really great video on this. If you haven't watched, I will share that in the chat, and it covers all of the various customizations you can make to client portals in Motion.io. So let me go ahead and share that here quick, just so I don't forget. So I'll post that link there. But on this page is where you can access the global settings for your client portals. Some of the information that you see here, like the branding tab, this is stuff that you're going to typically do when you first sign up for a Motion.io account, but you can change this information at any point. And then just to the right of this branding tab, which controls your branding settings for your client portals, the portals tab has some additional global customizations you can make. So one of the things here, you can require clients to access portals with passwords. Basically, this turns off magic links. So if your business requires an added level of security, you can have clients enter a username and password every time they access their portal. And you can also configure some of the client portal pages that are included in every portal. So this includes home, projects, my tasks, files, and messages. And then down at the bottom, the feature that we're talking about here that we recently shipped is you now have the ability to add a portal header image. So the dimension for these images are going to be 1600 by 200. And adding a custom portal header image is really as simple as just clicking change header image. And then I have an image here on my desktop. I'm just going to go ahead and drag that in. If you'd like, you can crop this. I typically would recommend, though, if you're setting up a custom portal header image, I would avoid cropping it and just get the exact size the first time around. So like I said, 1600 by 200. One note about uploading a custom header image is, like all of the other sort of social media platforms out there, this is going to scale to the browser size. So you may want to play around with this a little bit to get it exactly right. I'm sure if you've set up like a company page on LinkedIn or Facebook, you're probably pretty familiar with this process that like the banner image that you add, depending on the size somebody's viewing that viewing your page or your portal in this case on, it might cut off a little bit of it. The easiest way to avoid that is just to upload something that has the elements of the image primarily centered. So I played around with this a little bit, and I'm actually happy to share a template for this. If you all would like, let me know in the chat if that would be helpful. I could share you my Canva template I use to create this. But I found if you keep things pretty well centered, it's going to look typically the best across all screen sizes. So I'm going to go ahead and save changes on this, and I'll show you what these portals are going to look like now that I've added this custom header image. So I'm just going to go here into one of my projects. I'm going to open this like directly as the client. I could just click the preview button, but I prefer to show you exactly what it would look like to the client. So let's go ahead now, and I'll share my screen. One second here. And cool, you can see that this custom header image I added appears right above all of the other information in the portal. For this test client, I have Jenny Jacob. You can see, sweet, this image that says, welcome to your client portal. Great, it's in here now, looking good. And it appears alongside all of the other information that I've added. So while I'm here, I think it's helpful to point out, just because I know we get a few questions about this from our customers about the way that these tabs here work. So just to go over this really quickly, so the tabs you see here for home, my tasks, files, and messages, these are the pages, and I typically refer to them as the default pages that clients will see in every portal. And these are configured within your account settings page. These two tabs you see here for the website redesign project and the digital advertising project, these are the individual projects that I've invited this client to. And below the name of each project, you can see that there are these custom tabs I've added. One with an online scheduler, another with a tutorial video. And these tabs, if you're not familiar with them, we call them project tabs in Motion.io. The way that you configure them is within your individual projects. Wow, my hair was a lot shorter there. That's funny. And you have complete control over what tabs appear here. While the global pages, home, my tasks, files, etc., those are configured at within your settings. They appear on every single portal. And I see we have a question or a comment from Tomorrow. Yes, a template would be helpful. Sweet. I can actually go ahead tomorrow and let me share that in the chat just now. You can also, though, if anybody's watching this later and misses this link, feel free to send me an email directly. It's sam@motion.io. I don't like to be this mysterious person behind the scenes. There's my direct email. If you're tuning into this webinar, send me a message. I'm always happy to chat. So, and that includes, if you want me to send you that this template directly. But I will just plug this into the chat right now here, so I can give all of you access to it. Let me just go ahead. I'm going to make this a template for us in Canva just on the fly here. 1 second. Sweet. Here it is. Cool. And I just popped the link for my header image template into the chat. Feel free to copy and paste that. You can create a copy of that if you use Canva. I typically find that that's like the easiest way to share things that we create. So if you're new to Canva, just sign up for an account. It's super easy to use. I came from things like Adobe and Adobe Photoshop, Adobe Illustrator. I know how to use those platforms, but honestly, like I use Canva now every single day, usually multiple times a day, just because I find it so fast and so intuitive. For bigger stuff, I will use some of the Adobe products, but I use Canva for like 99% of my design work now. So yeah, feel free to copy that link and use this resource any way that you would like. Thanks for letting us know. That would be helpful tomorrow. And yeah, you should have access to it now. And as a reminder, see, we had some people kind of filing in as we go through this. Just letting you know that please send in your questions, send in your comments. I'm happy to answer anything you might want to know about Motion.io. I am yours for this entire hour of this live stream. So the next feature that I want to talk about, something we released this month, is our improvements to Motion.io automations. And I mentioned this a little bit earlier in the stream, but this is a huge change for us and a super valuable one at that, because it just allows you to move a lot faster within Motion.io as it pertains to automations, see exactly what automations have fired, understand exactly what they do, and I'm going to show you how it all works. Oh, and thank you, Catherine. I see that you mentioned that you were not seeing that on LinkedIn. Let me go ahead. I'll pop into LinkedIn really quick and share that template link for everyone there. Thanks for letting me know about that. 1 second here. I'll just go into my Motion.io account here. And hopefully I can do this quickly. I don't know why. Usually that my comments get sent to LinkedIn. I don't know why it didn't this time. But let me just go ahead and fix that here real quick. Canva template for custom header images. Okay, cool. Just popped that link into LinkedIn. Catherine, thanks so much for letting me know about that again. So you should have access to that now. Sweet. And so back to talking about our improvements to Motion.io automations. I'm going to go ahead and pop back into my Motion.io account. And let's go ahead and show you how that all works. Sweet. So I'm still in my portal view right now here. I'm going to go back into my actual account. And let's go to a project in Motion.io where I know I've already set up some automations. So previously, if you had used Motion.io automations in the past, what you'd have seen here on the project automations, and as a reminder, these automations can be set up both in active projects as well as templates. I'm showing you the view of automations in an active project right now, but it operates a similar way in project templates, except you can only set up automations. Obviously, none of those automations will execute until you create a project from that template. But what you'll see here when you go to automations now is that instead of a massive long list of every single trigger and every single action, we really condense things into this much simpler to understand view where you have all of your automations here. And then it says, hey, what if you hover over these icons, it'll tell you what the automation is triggered by. So is that a stage? Is that a task? Is it a project or is it a form? And then you can also see what the actions are and what the actions affect. So for this automation, where if the onboarding stage is completed, we activate the campaign setup stage. I can very easily see that, okay, yeah, onboarding stage is the trigger, and the action, what that action influences, is the campaign setup stage. In this view, you can also very easily see the last time an automation ran. So in this project, you'll notice that all of these first 4 automations are blank. That means they haven't run. But in this project created, activate first task. So this, what this automation does is it is going to automatically activate the first task in the project as soon as my project was created. And you'll see that this ran on May 22nd. If you click on any of the dates in the last run column, it'll give you a little bit more details about what that automation did in a really quick way, especially if you're like in the early stages of setting up a new workflow or process. I'm sure everybody watching this, as well as I know, as well as myself, you know that when you are first implementing a new process, a new system within your business, often there's a little bit of trial and error, a little bit of figuring out the flow of things and how to get them to operate best. As a side note, we are working on another really cool feature that I'll tell you a little bit more about at the end of this live stream that's going to help you do that even faster. But in your automations page, this view provides a really, really simple way to just see what are the automations that I have, what are the stages, pages, tasks they influence, and when did they last run? And did they run correctly and as expected? Another thing that we've done with this improvement and this pretty big overhaul to automations in Motion.io is we've made it so that when you set up an automation, and I'm just going to quickly create one here, is you can add your own custom name for that. And if you actually don't add a name, so for this automation, let me just set up something quickly as an example, where if the onboarding stage is completed, we're going to delay for 1 hour, and then we are going to activate the stage, campaign setup. If I don't enter a name here, what's going to happen is Motion.io uses a little bit of artificial intelligence to figure out what's going on in that automation, and it'll actually create a name for you. It was funny because when our development team added this feature, I was like, oh man, Zapier doesn't even do that. And I've been using Zapier for like 10 years. I have all of these zaps, like literally probably 200 zaps that were for testing purposes or things I just didn't want to like fully implement. Maybe it was something I was just trying out. But I have all of these apps in my account called Untitled. And I was like, man, why didn't Zapier did this? Like, that was really smart of them to think of this. So kudos. But yeah, if you don't want to enter a custom name, we'll autofill one for you. But that said, it's really easy to change this at any point. The way that I like to name my automations in Motion.io is just quickly, I'll include what the trigger is. So onboarding stage completed. And then I like to do like a little arrow. And then I'll say what the action is. So onboarding stage completed, activate campaign setup stage. So some really good improvements there, should help you move a lot faster, understand what your automations are doing, how they're running. And yeah, I'd love to know from anybody watching this, especially if you've been a customer of Motion.io for a little while now. If you use the old automations page and view in Motion.io, and now we're working from this new and improved version, how are you liking it? Are you finding it more intuitive? Are you finding it just better for your day-to-day operations? I'd love to know. Or if you're brand new to Motion, let me know what questions you have about automations. We get a lot of questions about them into our support desk. And the last live stream I did was actually Motion.io's most asked support questions, and that was one of the things that I covered in that live stream I did last week. So as a reminder too, you can go back and watch that. We put all of our streams up on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook as soon as they are done, so you can go back and check that out. So moving down the list, I'm next going to talk about new roles and permissions for team members in Motion.io. And this is an update that was a long time coming. With some of this new functionality, we really like to be intentional about what do people need? How can we make it simple, intuitive, without adding a ton of different like dials and knobs to the platform? And this functionality is a pretty good example of that. Because we really thought through it for a long time before implementing it. And I see Catherine wrote in, I haven't used the new version yet, but I'm excited to give it a try. Awesome. And thanks for writing in again, Catherine. Let us know what you think. If it's easier, faster, would love any feedback you have on it. So yeah, thanks so much. Back to talking about new roles and permissions for team members. I'm going to show you how this works. Once again, diving back into my own Motion.io account here. And I'm going to click into the team option in my sidebar. If you haven't used this before, this is where you can add team members as well as edit team members in your Motion.io account. Previously in Motion.io, there were only two roles that you could choose from. You either had administrators or team members. Now within Motion.io, whenever you add a person to your account, and I'll just add an example person here. I'll call this, what do we want to call this person? We're just going to call them Ralph Lauren. I don't know why that's on the top of my mind today, but sometimes you just need to be creative when I'm giving these examples. So, but what you'll see now when you're adding a team member is there are a couple of different roles to choose from. You now, in addition to administrator, have a manager role, an employee role, and a contractor role. And each of these roles come with a different set of things that the team member you're inviting can view and interact with in your projects and portals. The quickest way to understand this is to, and what I would suggest doing if you're new to these roles and want to be, really intentional about what type of role you're choosing, I recommend you just head over to our knowledge base, just type in manage, and I'll also share this article with everybody in the chat. But I did just update this article about managing team members, and it explains each role in detail. But the long story short is that administrators basically can do everything in Motion.io. Managers have pretty broad permissions. we look at managers as like anybody who might be in charge of a team that's like running a specific department, where you need them to be able to do things like edit templates and edit contracts. The two roles below that, it's important to call out that these two roles, the employee role as well as the contractor role, they cannot view or access contracts in your account. And that was something that we did very intentionally, just because when talking to our users and developing these new roles, we had asked like, hey, what are important things that like you might not want a employee or a independent contractor to see? By and large, what everybody shared was, contracts were the most important thing, that you really want to be able to restrict those to just administrators and managers. So we've done that in the platform. And then in addition, employees can't edit templates or forms. And that's also intentional just because, if somebody's brand new to the team, probably don't want them going in and mucking around with your templates or your forms right away. But after a while, you could, of course, just upgrade them to the manager role if you did, want them to have access to some of those bigger pieces within your Motion.io account. And then contractors are read-only users. So they can view projects, they can view updates, but they cannot interact with tasks or other areas of the project. It's essentially, the contractor role is essentially for anybody who needs to know what's going on in a project, but all of their work probably happens outside of Motion.io. So I think about this like, for example, if you run a website design agency, maybe you work with an independent contractor who creates the content for the client's website. It would be important for them to know when the client was done with onboarding, or maybe even when the initial version of their website that you're designing was up on a development environment, so they can start on that content. But they don't need to necessarily interact with the client directly, because you've already asked the client in some other type of form or some other way for the type of content that they need. With that, I see we have a couple of questions, so I'll take a pause and answer them. So the first one is from Virginia. Ashley, thank you so much for tuning in. Virginia says, I really like the new view. Can you add an or condition for triggers? So Virginia, that is not a part of our automations yet. It's something we have considered. It is on our roadmap, but I really, really appreciate you bringing that up because we don't have it yet. You can stack automations and triggers on top of each other, meaning that you can have multiple automations within you can, let me just actually pop into a project. It'll be quicker to show you here. So when you're creating an automation, you can add as many triggers as you'd like. So if I added 2 triggers where one task was schedule kickoff call, the other one was complete onboarding form, both of these would have to be true in order for the automation to fire, but we don't have the ability to set this as an or condition. But it's really helpful for me to hear that that's important for you. I'm absolutely going to log a feature request for you. And anyone else watching this, if you would like an or condition for automations, please let us know, because that's the type of thing that, hey, we didn't develop it initially. A lot of times we like to take iterative steps, make sure we are getting things just right before launching the full range of things that we think might be important. We like to have proof of that, and the best way to do that is write it and tell us. And Virginia, I see you wrote a follow-up. Multiple ands all have to be true. Yeah, that's correct. So we only have the and option. We don't have the or option at the moment, but like I said, we will. I will definitely log a feature request for you for that. And actually, let me just take a note of that for myself so I can remember to do that. Tamara asked a question. This is a question about team members, and it is, can employees add tasks to projects? So employees can add tasks to projects. They just can't edit the template. So you could, have an employee add a new task to complete, or and mark that task as completed or interact with it. But if you want somebody, if you're talking about templates and you want a employee to be able to edit a template, they're not able to do that. You would have to upgrade them to the manager role, and not upgrade them because it doesn't cost anything else. You would just have to change them from the employee role to the manager role. And then Tamara asked another question: is there any way to incorporate stages into the creation of tasks from Zapier so they don't default to uncategorized when added to a project? That's a really, really good question. Unfortunately, no, not at the moment. If you are using, and just to give folks out there in the audience what Tamara is referring to, I'm going to just show you in Zapier real quick what the automation action Tamara is referring to does. So let me just go ahead and create a quick workflow here. And if anybody's unfamiliar with Zapier, what it is a platform that lets you connect to thousands of other web apps. And Motion.io, at Motion.io, we have our own Zapier integration that allows you to do a number of things like create projects, create tasks, edit tasks, find a project. And what Tamara is referencing is this create task action that we have available that allows you to create tasks sort of on the fly when another event happens. So, for example, like let's say if a specific form was created and I wanted to then create a form in my Motion.io account, or when a form was submitted, let's just use a form here, for example, lead form. I'll just use that one. So when this lead form was submitted, I was going to create a task in a specific project. Right now, the way that this works is if you use this create task Zapier action, it's going to add that task to a stage called uncategorized. It's really helpful to hear, though, Tamara, that you'd like to be able to specify a stage there for the task to be added to. That's definitely something that we have the ability to do. We haven't done it yet, but I will, as with Virginia's comment, I will make sure to add a feature request for you. That's really, really helpful insight for us. And awesome. Hopefully, everybody who just sent in questions, hopefully that answered things thoroughly for you. Please let me know if it didn't. I'm happy to circle back, double tap on anything that you'd like to learn more about. And for anybody who's writing in about functionality that isn't a part of Motion.io or our Zapier integration, I will be 100% sure to log feature requests for you. When we do that, we will also be sure to give you any updates when we launch that functionality. Similar requests to import tasks using automation in specific stages. Virginia, with that request, that actually is something that you can do in Motion.io already. And the way that you would do that is, I'm going to go back here into my Motion.io account. And let's call this onboarding. Actually, let's use a form block for this one. I'm going to call this automation form block and then import stage. So the way that you would do this here, Virginia, and let me just double check. Cool. You can see my screen. The way that you would do this, Virginia, is you would go ahead and, for my example, I'm going to use the form block as a trigger. So I have this form set up, and I'm going to actually rename this. Do you want SEO equals yes? And this is a really handy automation because what I can do is fire it from a form block. So if the form block, are you interested in our SEO services, is yes, what I will then do is import a stage from my SEO services template called onboarding. So this is the way that you would do this, Virginia, if you did want the stage name to be included. So basically, like when this automation would fire, it would import this stage from my separate SEO services template, and that stage would be titled onboarding. For tasks, what happens, and this may be what you're looking to do that isn't possible at the moment, is if you import a individual task. So if I import this complete keyword research task, set a due date 4 out of 5 days. If I don't have a stage if I have a stage in my template already called onboarding, this won't be added to the uncategorized stage. But for example, like in this project, I know that I don't have a stage called analytics setup and optimization. And if I do just import a single task, it would still be added to the uncategorized stage. But the simple way around this, and with that, I can definitely log a feature request for as well. But the simple way around this is just to import the entire stage at a time. So instead of going just by that task, let's say I would import this analytics setup and optimization stage I have in my SEO services template. Even though this stage doesn't exist in this current template, when this automation fires, it will import all of the tasks from the stage as well as the stage name, so it wouldn't be set as uncategorized. And hopefully that answers your question. Oh, and to clarify, I want to bring a task into an existing stage in the project. Gotcha. Yeah, that is not something that's possible at the moment, I believe. But like I said, I'll make sure to log a feature request for you. I can see how that is something that you would want to do. Actually, everything that's been requested today, really, really good feature requests. So thank you all so much for writing in. It's super, super valuable for me and the team here. And as always, keep the questions coming. I believe we've answered everything thus far that's been sent in, but if there's other things you want to know for the remainder of the 15 minutes of this live stream today, please write them in. Everything you send, I will answer live. So back to talking about a couple of the last features that we have available and we've added functionality for in the last month here at Motion.io. One of the biggest ones, one of the coolest ones, a favorite of mine, is that you now have the ability to populate custom fields multiple times in a single contract in Motion.io. So if you're new to Motion.io, you might be wondering, well, what exactly does this mean? It's a little bit, nebulous as far as, how that functionality would be useful to me. So I'm going to quickly explain how it works and explain what you could do before, and then how this update that we've made is such a powerful improvement. So popping back in to my Motion.io account, I'm going to head over to the contracts tab. And on this tab, if you are unfamiliar with it, this is where you can set up contract templates that you can reuse again and again in all of your Motion.io projects. And I'm going to pop into my digital marketing contract here. I'm not going to upload a contract from scratch here today, but it's really easy the way you do that. You just click create contract template, drag your PDF here into this window. And then what you'll do is you'll click edit fields. So now in our contract template editor, we have some really great instructions up here that explains exactly how it works. The link here also goes directly to our knowledge base article, which provides some more detailed instruction. So to explain this new functionality of the ability to populate custom fields multiple times in a contract template, previously in Motion.io, if I had, for example, 2 client business address fields, so I have one here and another one here. Previously in Motion.io, you could only use a single custom field to populate this information. And the way that you would do that is you would go ahead and you would just paste in the slug for your custom field. Whoops, did not mean to add that. You would paste in the slug for your custom field into this API ID section, but you could only do it once, meaning that if I wanted to have this information populated automatically multiple times throughout the project, the only way to do that was to create 2 separate custom fields in my Motion.io account, which would mean doing something like this. And I'm going to head over to a new tab here really quick. So that would mean that I would have to create a duplicate version of this, custom field for my business address. Now you don't have to do that. Now with this update, I can use this single custom field for business address, and I can populate it as many times throughout this contract as I would want. And the way that you do that is super, super simple. So I'm going to grab the slug for this business address custom field, paste it into the API ID, and cool. Now, when the client fills that out, their business address will automatically populate. And then further down on the page, what I would do is I can just paste in the same value for that business address field. Not the value, the slug. So I'd paste in the slug, and all I have to do to populate it a second time is add _2. And it's a very similar process if I would have 3, 4, even 5 times I'd want to use this field within my contract. I could set it as 3 or 4 or 5, as many times as I'm going to use it. The basic naming convention is just underscore followed by some unique number. And with that, this is going to make it so that the client doesn't have to enter this information manually. And this is really useful for things, for example, that you might collect in an onboarding form. In your onboarding form, you probably ask for the client's business address. Maybe you ask for pricing information. You have that information already. You can send it to a custom field, populate it in the contract, so that all the client has to do when they fill out their contract is just sign it. So 2 clicks and then they're done. Oh, and sorry, I just realized I was on the wrong tab there. Sorry, got a little crazy with my tabs here for a second. Yes, the way that you would do that, Mary, is in your contract, go to add a text field. And as a note, the custom field population only works with text fields. So you'll add that text field, go down to the API ID, and then paste in the slug for your custom field. And then once you've added that custom field, you'll go to the next place that it appears. Once again, paste in your exact same slug, but this time you'll add underscore and then a number. And like I said, you can repeat this as many times as you'd like. So I'll even just do this from scratch really quickly to show you all. It probably wouldn't make sense in this contract, but just for the sake of example, I'm going to add a text field here. I'm also going to call this one business address. Paste in my custom field again, and this time I'll go _3. And that does it. So if there's any questions that you all have about how this functionality works, definitely let me know. Happy to answer questions about that in our final couple of minutes here. I do see that Tamara has asked a question about, is there a cost to add a contractor level access? So yes, there is. Every team member you add to Motion.io, the way we have it set up right now is that is a person that will be added to your account. It's something that that we have set up to where you can change people to any role that you would like. There's no different cost for each role, but there would be a cost for adding that team member in the first place. So the final thing that I would like to talk about here, and actually I have two final things here, but what I want to talk about first is the brand new tasks view. And if you haven't used this, it's something that I find, especially our folks that have been using Motion.io for a while now, may have still skipped over. And I wanted to highlight this functionality because it's really, really cool what you can do with it. So with the new tasks view, and I'm going to pop back into my account here. With the new tasks view, and where you'll see that is right under templates in your account sidebar. This view allows you to filter from any task across any project in your Motion.io account. And this can be really useful, especially for people who are in a management role, or maybe you're, the owner, the CEO, and you want to get a sense of what tasks are being completed that day, what might be falling behind. When you go to the task page, it's going to default to your tasks, so tasks only assigned to you, but you can very quickly change that. And the way that you do this is you can use these filters here from the dropdown. So, for example, I could go, and I'm going to uncheck all of these boxes to leave everything open, but I could go and I could see, oh, hey, what are all of the tasks assigned to my team that are due today? What are all of the tasks assigned to my team that are overdue or due next week or this week? So it provides a really easy way to toggle between the different type of work that is occurring within your projects. There's also tabs here up at the top for tasks with recent comments, overdue tasks, as well as tasks that are due soon. And using these filters, you can really keep a tab on individual tasks across all of your various projects. So super useful functionality. And I'd love to know too, from anybody watching, have you used the new tasks view? What do you think about it? Is it something you're finding helpful? Definitely write in and let us know. And finally, what I will cover last here before talking about a couple of fun things that we're working on that you can expect to be added next to Motion.io is I want to talk about how we've added support for weekly recurring tasks to the platform. And let me hop back into my account. So if you've never used them before, in your projects and templates, Motion.io gives you the ability to create recurring tasks. And the way that you do that is you come down, you create a task, and you can turn on recurring. Previously in Motion.io, the way that you would set up recurring tasks, and the only way you could, was monthly. So you would select the day of the month and then the time of the day when you wanted that task to be completed each month. Now you have the option to set up weekly recurring tasks. So you can select a day of the week. So for example, let's say this is a task I need completed every Friday morning. I'll select Friday and I'll go 8 a.m. as the time of day I need that task completed on. The way that recurring tasks work is that once you toggle them, and let me just clean this up here quick to show you. But the way that recurring tasks work is that as soon as you turn them to on, which you can do by clicking Start Recurrence from the dropdown. Now that this task is on, every single month or every single week, depending on the schedule I have it set up, it's going to create an additional task for that client to complete. So this is a really simple one where you have the ability to, where I created a task every single month for the client here to review their reporting dashboard. And in this task, you'll probably notice that up at the top here, there's a weird month. There's a weird item in the title that is month in double brackets. When you are creating recurring tasks, you have the ability to use these bracketed text fields to auto-populate this with the specific month, the specific week or day that task is being completed on or needs to be completed on. And this allows your recurring tasks to be really dynamic, to where every single additional task the recurring tasks parent, we often call it, creates, it's going to populate with this unique information. And so that really does it for the major thing that we've added to Motion.io over the last month. Hope you all found this useful. Hope it was really informative, and maybe you found out about some new things that you can implement into your workflows that you haven't tried out already. As far as a couple of fun things that we're working on here at Motion.io, and just a little teaser of what is coming ahead. One of the things we're working on right now, just saw a preview of it right before I hopped onto this live stream today, is we are completely revamping the way our file management system works in Motion.io. And the long story short is that we've heard from a lot of folks that, hey, they want it to basically just operate more like Google Drive. It took us a while to figure out, the priority of this, how we would get it exactly right. But long story short, that's exactly what we're doing. So it's going to give you a lot more flexibility, a lot more control of the file management within your account, where you can create and share folders. You can create new folders, subfolders, really do all of that crazy stuff that you can do on some of the other file management platforms you might be familiar with already, directly in Motion.io. So we're bringing a really world-class file management experience in a way that integrates directly with your projects and keeps files contained within one centralized space. I'm sure if you're anything like me, Google Drive and your Google Drive files and folders, they can quickly turn into a mess where it's impossible to find anything. So we are taking what works really well there, applying our own sort of Motion.io layer on top of it to make it project client specific and make it really easy to share things and just view and track files that have been uploaded and quickly give team members and clients access to them. Another really fun thing that we're working on that's going to be coming here in a little bit to Motion.io is a really cool new AI feature that is honestly it blew me away when we were looking at it the other day. But basically what we're going to enable you to do is so that you can do trial and error with your workflows and be able to assess, hey, what are improvements I can make to this to a workflow, to a template in Motion.io that's going to really expedite the process of a project being completed for a client. So what you'll be able to do is set up AI clients who you can have run through a project with a AI team member or manager, and you'll be able to quickly assess what are parts in this workflow that could potentially slow it down, and what improvements could I make to this workflow in order to get the things that I need back faster, get the client's results sooner. So that's going to be a really, really useful functionality or piece of functionality, especially to anyone who is setting up a new process or maybe offering a new system. And you can basically skip that trial and error part of weeks of iteration of like, when do I ask the client for this? Or when should our team start working on a deliverable? You'll be able to sort of streamline all of that and just get those insights by simulating the process of running through a client with 2 AI agents. So stay on the lookout for that. It's something we are really excited to be able to offer. And as always, we ship almost every Wednesday. You can always stay up to date by going to motion.io/changelog, see what we've released in the last week. With that, everybody, I am going to sign off and get back to my Friday. Hope everybody out there has a great rest of your day, a great weekend. As always, it's been a blast hanging out with you. We do these live streams every week, 10:30 Mountain Time, and we'll always let you know about them beforehand. But looking forward to seeing you on the next one. With that, everybody, Sam Chlebowski signing off from Motion.io. Take care.